Ronnie Currin, Mayor Ronnie Currin.
Hey, Philip, how you doing tonight? Hope you're doing well.
Happy Thursday night, Ronnie.
Yeah.
I am doing
What
wonderful.
about today? Today was amazingly nice, was it not?
We opened the windows in the chamber. We locked the front door open. We had a cross breeze. It was wonderful.
I know. I'm ready for summer. I think the spring is here. Maybe all the bad weather is over with. I was in Boone about 2 weeks ago, and we got two snows while I was up there, so I did get to see a little bit more ice and snow before the winter was over with. But now I think we're going coming into spring and summer. I think.
I don't think I ever saw a snowflake this winter, and I'm not
Wow.
complaining.
Yeah, we was up
I
there
think
at Christmas
I'm
time.
bragging.
We got some pretty severe snow up there. So I've been up there 3 times and had snow up there. So I guess you got to be up there if you want it, Phil, or maybe up in Buffalo or somewhere. But
Well, the better half, Paula Carter, would much rather have her toes in the sand and drinking a hand over and in the Outer Banks somewhere than up in the mountains.
well, good. What's been happening this week or this past month since last time we got together? Anything exciting happening at the chamber?
We had a couple of great events. In late February, we had the annual Rolesville Chamber Awards banquet. So we got to recognize our strongest volunteers, our members of the year. It was a Western theme. I'm from Texas, and I haven't owned a pair of cowboy boots since I threw the last pair out. Because when I unpacked them, they were moldy. So I went down to Tammy's Western Wear and bought a new pair of boots for it. It was a Western theme. We had a lot of fun with it. Hay bales for pictures and everything else. And then last weekend, for International Women's Month, we held the Rolesville Chambers Women's Leadership Brunch at Wake Forest Baptist, or was it? No, I think it was in Rolesville. Let's put it that way. Last Saturday, and well attended, about 75, 80 people, 80 ladies, and a lot of great panelists, a lot of great speakers, and fantastic food as well for them last weekend. So it's been an eventful month.
Yeah.
Our staff, our board of directors, and our committees and volunteers are resting this week for sure.
That's right. That's right. A lot of good things going on. I know this week we had the picnic with the police in the Main Street Park, and I think you attended. I think I saw you there, Philip. That was a good event to come out to. They cook hot dogs and hamburgers, and
I might have inhaled a hot dog and a hamburger. Yes.
yeah. So I think they're going to do that again. But it's a lot of good things now. It's becoming the weather's getting better, and everything is becoming much better. And one good thing, Philip, finally our federal government approved a budget. Did you know that? And
No.
I guess you may want to ask me, why is that a good thing for Rolesville?
Why is that a good thing for Rolesville, Ronnie?
Yeah, well, for the first time ever, we had a couple community projects in the budget, the federal budget. We never had anything that gave money through any community projects to Rolesville before. So one of the projects that was in the budget was $410,000 to do a facelift improvement on a Main Street park. So that's a really nice park, and we need to do some improvements to it. I think it's about 16 or 17 years old. So to get this project in the budget, and they finally approved the budget, was great. And the second thing, we had a joint project in there with Wake County for about $350,000 to start site work for the new library. And one of the things we've been working on for.
Where's that going, Ronnie?
The new library be going in our new complex, which is just down the road from the chamber, right down the road from chamber, across a little bit further down, across from Rolesville Baptist Church. But going out of town, it's on the right. So we're very excited about that. Never had anything in the federal budget before. Our federal government never gave Rolesville anything before, and it was excited to finally get that.
So some appendix of this massive, 6-foot high document, there was a byline, 2 bylines that had the word Rolesville, town of Rolesville on them.
That's exactly right. Rolesville Public Library, Wake County Public Library in Rolesville, and Rolesville Main Street Park. So because it took a lot of work working with our Congressman Deborah Ross. I think you've met.
Yes.
She's very much supports our community, and that's what it takes to get something like that in the federal budget, is somebody in office that kind of help us with that. And she did a really good job. Worked closely with her for the last 12 months to get that in there, and finally got it approved. Excited about that. Did you know things going on is ACC basketball? You a big ACC basketball guy?
I cannot tell a lie. I am not. I am more of a Texas football kind of guy. But then again, I've been here for 20 years, so now I need to get into the ACC better.
Well, it's a big event, ACC tournament time. It used to be bigger. It used to be a lot stronger thing, but in the last few years, it's kind of dwindled down a little bit. But they're having a tournament this week starting this week, and then over the weekend. But there's another tournament going on that you may not know about, Phil. Our women high school basketball girls women team was in the Final Four today of the 4A championship, high school championship, Final Four, and they won. When
you get that posted?
They won. So Saturday, Rolesville women's high school basketball team will be playing a Charlotte team for the tournament championship. I think this is the first year they ever been even to the Final Four, and definitely the first time they won a game in the Final Four. So if they don't win Saturday, they've gone extremely far. And I really love to see them bring it home Saturday. They're playing in Greensboro, I think. So that's where the tournament's at.
No, way to watch it live?
I think it's Winston-Salem. I think you can watch it on streaming. There's some streaming networks that you can watch it on. But that's a pretty exciting thing, for a little town of Rolesville to have a basketball team
that's fantastic.
To play the Charlotte team for the championship. Rolesville versus Charlotte. Is that not amazing?
That seems like, a mismatch, but it'll be something if we can pull it off. Who's favored? What are the odds?
I don't know. I don't think they put the odds on it. I think Rolesville was.
Sports betting's legal in North Carolina now.
Yeah, I think Rolesville was 2 seeded in the East, and the Charlotte team was 3 seeded in the West. So pretty equal matched, I think. I think the Excellent. 2 number 1 teams lost out today. It was a Watauga team and can't remember. Oh, the team from Wilmington that Rolesville beat. I think they were number 1 in the East. So good results. I know I had Coach Williams. She's an AD out there at Rolesville. Also, I had her on the show a few months ago, 1st January, I think, and we talked about this very team. She had great aspirations for them, and they have really exceeded very well. And very excited about that.
Sounds like we need to bring her back on, depending on no matter how they perform Saturday.
Exactly. So I'm excited about the show tonight. Also, Phil, got 2 great guests on. I know you've met both of them. Alicia, she has an incredible story. It started when she was 14 years old, and I've heard it a couple times, and it just touches you every time you hear it. And she's going to come on and give us a little bit of that. Very excited to have her. And then Jim Lindsey is a guy that we probably met about 12, 18 months ago when he came to town, said he wanted to put a new retirement center here, and went through the process and got it approved. And it's going down there near where Walbrook is. A very nice retirement community is going down there. Very much excited about that project. We all are getting older, right, Philip? So we may find good use for that one day ourselves. But
it's all right here. I've got a good job as Santa Claus already. This is snow.
There you go. But I'm excited. I think we got a great show. I'm ready to get going. How about you?
Let's do it. I'm going to go off the stage, and in a moment, Alicia will pop in. So enjoy the conversation. I'll be listening.
Thank you. Thank
Bring
you.
her on.
Well, hey, Alicia. How are you?
Hi.
I hope you're doing well.
Doing great. Loving the weather today. It
I
is
know.
so
Did you get
beautiful.
to go outside any?
I did. It's funny because every time I step outside, I'm expecting it to be chilly and I have like my winter coat. And then I'm like, what am I
No,
doing? It's beautiful. And I live in the South now. So I
that's
need to
right.
start
No
expecting it to
short
be warmer.
And let's talk about your bio a little bit. I know you're not from the South. You are from, I think, Pittsburgh, I believe you told me one time. But kind of tell us who you are. Tell us, how did you end up in Rolesville of all places? And, if I remember, your last time we talked to you, you said you would lived in several places, but most of them was in the northern part of the country. So kind of bring up to speed of who you are for the community here.
Absolutely. So I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I moved to Rolesville it's been a little over a year now. And I ended up here because I fell in love with a guy and I fell in love with the city. And I stepped here and I was like, this feels like a place that could be home. And like you've just said, I've moved around a lot. I've lived in really big cities. I've lived in Chicago, New York. I lived in Jersey. I've lived a lot of different places, but here it just felt so lovely. You know, when you visit somewhere, you're like, I could live here sometimes. Like, nope, I'm actually going to take that step. And the people were so kind. I remember I went grocery shopping once and I ended up in a conversation with somebody while carrying my groceries out to the car. And it just felt so warm and inviting, and it still does.
Yeah. So what do you, I guess, what do you contribute to the big difference between, living in, say one in Chicago, for example, and down here? What catches your mind as being the a big difference in the two?
And everything really, gosh, there's so much. But one thing I love about here is that there's so much greenery and there's so much sky, and the sky is always so beautiful. Growing up in Pittsburgh, unfortunately, our weather was really not great. In fact, it's still, if you look up statistics, it's about as cloudy and overcast there as it is in Seattle. So we don't get a whole lot of sunshine. And that's one thing that really sticks out here is that beautiful, beautiful sunshine and the sunshiny people. And I know this sounds really corny, but it feels wonderful. It's a really beautiful place. And I'm so excited to see Rolesville grow.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see how this all plays out.
So we put up a little slide to start with there. North Carolina State Bureau investigation. I think everybody you got such an interesting story to tell. I've heard it a couple times, and so maybe kind of lead in to us about who you are and kind of some of the things I know. Two of the things I'm very familiar with is Alicia Project and Alicia Law. But maybe overall, big picture, who are you, and what's your big passion,
Sure. So before I begin this, I want to give a trigger warning for anybody who is watching or listening, because this is a traumatic story. And so many of us have our own traumas, and it may not be even something related to what I've experienced, but just to know that it's okay to have an emotion or to feel something. And please, if you need to step away or tune out, please feel free to do so. My story starts when I was 13 years old, back in 2001, 2002, when the internet was very different. And you can see in this picture here, you may remember a big old desktop, the tower, the ridiculous noises, the AOL discs that they would send you with 30,000 hours or whatever. The internet was just so different. And nobody knew how dangerous it was. There's that saying, what you don't know can't hurt you. It's garbage. If anybody ever tells you that, don't believe them, because what you don't know is dangerous. You can't protect yourself from. And I was 13 years old and I didn't know how dangerous the internet was. And it led to me being groomed and lured by an online predator. I was one of the first known, if not the first known case of a child to be abducted by an online predator. He groomed me, lured me from my home, and kidnapped me and held me captive in his basement dungeon. He took me from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Virginia, where he tortured me and abused me. I was miraculously rescued because he had been live streaming what he was doing to me in the very early days of the internet. He was live streaming what he was doing to me, and somebody recognized me from the missing poster that you're looking at right now. Somebody who was watching this horrendous video recognized the little girl in that video as the little girl on this missing poster, and it led to my rescue. I am so incredibly lucky to be here, and I say that a lot. Like, and people tell me that you're so lucky. The fact is that yes, I am, because most children don't come out of a situation like this. In a stranger abduction, it's incredibly, incredibly rare. So at the age of 14, I began sharing my story publicly because I just wanted to protect my friends. I wanted to protect other kids my age because I knew that nobody knew how dangerous this was. And I had this inside knowledge. And I had been given a gift. I had been given the second chance at life. This man was very likely going to kill me, and I was rescued. And with that, I don't have another word for it, miracle, I wanted to save others. So I began speaking out in schools when I was 14 years old and have been doing that now for many, many years, at least 20 years now. And I've watched the dangers grow, the technology grow, and there is so much to this. And the thing is, it's really important to note that we are all at risk. We are all at risk at the dangers online, and most especially children.
Yeah, I think it's just heartbreaking, and it's a story that really, a lot of people wouldn't share it, but you have made it your mission to try to help others and educate not only the kids but the families and everybody involved. And that is either a sacrifice or a passion or both. And you've been doing it for 20 years, but what do you moved to North Carolina, so there's your picture on People magazine. You moved to North Carolina. I know you still want to tell your story. So what's your concentrations now? Is it still in schools and those type things, or what is your work now encompasses?
Well, it's really interesting because what I've discovered is that this conversation is important for all sorts of audiences, be it students, be it parents, teachers, law enforcement, FBI, corporations, whomever. It's a really important message to hear. But I do focus greatly on students, and I haven't spoken in any schools yet locally. So I'm really looking forward to that. Kids really respond to the story because I don't necessarily, it's not just standing up there and telling my story. It is truly relating to them into the dangers that we are facing today. When this happened to me, the dangers were very different. There was no social media. There wasn't even really YouTube. There wasn't anything that much online. And now it has become an appendage for children and for everybody. My phone is sitting right here. Your phones are all probably sitting right next to you. And here we are on technology communicating right now, which is a really beautiful thing. But with all those great the growths in technology, there are so many risks, and it has gotten a lot worse for kids out there. And when I used to speak, it used to be, okay, this horrible thing could happen to you. Yes, you could be groomed, you could be abducted, you could be abused. This could happen to you. But now you are almost guaranteed to face some sort of danger online on some sort of spectrum, be it as far as child abduction or sextortion, which I'll get into in just a few moments, or scams. And there's just so many dangers that we have to teach kids to protect themselves from. Because when it comes down to it, we don't have the ability to watch them all the time. We can only pay attention to their devices so much. They make the choices. And that's what I tell them. They have the ability and the responsibility to protect themselves. And their teachers, their parents, everybody can do everything to protect them. But what they do with this hand and what they do with those devices, it's ultimately their choice. So teaching them how to make good decisions and how to listen to that instinct and that intuition when something is wrong. And it's not that you can't be tricked or groomed or manipulated, but hopefully at some point there's that little red flag, that little light bulb that goes off that says, I'm not being careful enough, and here's what I need to do. And then if something does go wrong, how to report it and how to get help.
Yeah, you mentioned extortion. I'll tell a little story on Philip, since he's not on here. When I mentioned to Philip I was gonna have you on the show, Alicia, he told me, said, well, I got 3 boys. So, but it's you would think your story may be just for girls and women, but that's not the case. I mean, when it comes to extortion, it applies to everyone, and you probably have stories with the male being extorted type things.
Yeah, certainly with sextortion, but with any dangers online, boys are just as much at risk. In fact, I've been told by the FBI that sometimes boys are targeted more because predators think that they are less likely to tell and will more easily be able to gain their trust. But when it comes to sextortion, let me explain a little bit about what sextortion is. So it is the words sexual and extortion and combining those. So essentially, it is that a photo is exchanged, an inappropriate photo is exchanged, and now that person either says, send me more photos, or I'm going to share this around, I'm going to do this, this, and this. I'm going to, really horrible threats of, I know where your little sister lives and I'm going to find her. I know where your mother works. I'm going to go to her work, whatever it might be. 2, if you don't send me $5,000, I'm going to kill your little sister. She goes to this preschool. And what happens in those cases, and what we're seeing quite often, is young boys are dying by suicide. And that has been going on in every community that I've spoken in recently. That has been happening. And it's something that we can't ignore. It's really easy to push this sort of stuff under the rug, to kind of change the channel in your mind and say, oh, this can't happen to me. This won't happen to my family. My kid's too smart. My kid's careful. My kid tells me what's going on. I trust my kid. Yes, you may, and your kid may be ultimately the greatest kid ever, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to come across somebody who's really dangerous and who knows what they're doing. So we have to really work together to protect our children. And a few things that you can do as a parent is, first off, you have to educate yourself about online dangers. Sit down, learn the emojis, learn the tech, download the different apps, get on TikTok and play around, whatever it might be. Use those things yourself. Educate yourself. You have to be aware and know what's going on. Secondly, is that you need to talk to your kids about online dangers, and you need to do this as soon as they're going to be using technology. And it doesn't mean that you have to talk to your 6-year-old about something terrible and graphic and terrify them, but you do need to have a conversation that is age appropriate to help keep them safe, because they are just as much at risk as older kids. And then next, you need to monitor what your kids are doing online. You need to be able to pick up that phone and log into it and see what they're doing. You need to be able to get into their gaming systems. You need to be able to get into their applications, know their passwords. And that doesn't mean that you're sneaking and you're spying on them necessarily. It's not about getting them in trouble. That's the most important thing here. It is not about getting your child in trouble. It's not about getting in the way of the things that kids do when they go to that party or try that beer or whatever. It's not about pointing those things out and punishing them. And that brings me to my next point, is let your child know that they can come to you with absolutely anything at all, and you will not be ashamed of them. You will not be disappointed in them. You will not punish them. You will not take away their device. That's what kids are so afraid of, and they need to be able to come to you for support and help.
Yeah. Do you find parents today are more open to the tips that you're giving, and they're trying to do that? Because I would think 14-year-old, 15-year-old is very reluctant to come to their parents for anything like that. They would probably do whatever they could do to prevent from doing that. So how do you convince them that's the best thing to do is probably pretty difficult.
Well, kids know that there's danger out there. Kids want to be safe. And in order to be safe, they need to have somebody to turn to when things go wrong. And when I first started speaking out, so in my presentation, I anonymously asked them a series of questions. And one of those questions is, would you ask your parents for help if A, B, or C happened online? And it used to be that most kids would not raise their hand for that. And they would say, the reason for that is I would get in trouble. Now, seriously, almost every kid raises their hand for that question. And every single time I have to take a step back, because that means that they're getting that there's dangers, and also that they feel safe to go to their parents, that the adults are starting to understand that this is a danger. When I first started speaking out at 14, I was called a fearmonger. People said that these sorts of things aren't happening. It's only happening to troubled or bad kids. And the fact is that it happens to any kid and anybody. And we all need to be careful. But we also need that place to turn. And most especially kids, what do? What is your 9-year-old son going to do if he does send that inappropriate picture because he's been tricked, because this person pretended to be a really attractive girl or whomever they'd be attracted to, and he sends this picture that was inappropriate? Now this person's threatening to make them send money. They don't know what to do. How do they get that help? Where do they turn to? Do they tell that person to go away? Do they threaten them? Do they send more images? Do they send money? How do they do this? The only option that they have is to get help from the outside. They have to be able to go to their parents, and their parents have to be able to go to law enforcement.
Alicia, time flies. Our time is running short. But before we go away, I just want to ask you one question. And maybe you can explain very briefly what is Alicia's law, because I think it's very important. That's one of the things I have. I get asked by people all the time. Take up this effort, take up this effort, take up that effort, and in talking to you, this is one of the things that I have personally kind of taken up to try to talk to our legislators in Raleigh to do Alicia's law. My understanding it's in 11 states, but we don't have it here in North Carolina yet. It is election time coming up, and we have people that's reaching out, wanting support for the election. And I think this is a really good thing for them to support if elected, would be your law that you promote. Really, really briefly, if you would explain what that is.
Sure. First off, thank you so much for your support. I am really looking forward to working on that with you. What Alicia's Law does is it helps fund the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Forces, the ICAC task forces, which essentially work on these sorts of crimes. Right now, they are so overworked and so underfunded. They do not have the resources available to be able to do their best work and save as many kids as they can. So what Alicia's Law does is it creates a revenue stream to those law enforcement, those task forces, and gives them the funding, the resources, the boots on the ground, the training, what they need to do to be able to keep your community safe.
That's great. I see Phil's got your information up there, so hope everybody takes that down in case they want to get up with you. Before we leave, I saw they put the People magazine picture up, and you have been doing this for a long time and been very active. You've been in all types of shows. I think you've been on Oprah, Dr. Phil, all those network shows, right? Promoting what you do, and really just want to thank you for being in the neighborhood. And Philip, was there any questions before we get Alicia off, or do you have any questions? I think you're muted, Phil.
I'm supposed to be the technologist. None showing at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, and thank you everybody that's been watching. And Alicia, thank you for joining us. If you would hang on, I would love to get you back at the end, and we say goodbye to you. So if you would hang on, and thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. All right, Phil. That's an interesting story there. And
To say the least.
it's a scary story. I mean, it's something that, as she mentioned, you want to not think about it. You want, you don't want to dwell on it. You want to sweep it under the rug. You want to think it's not even practical or possible, but it is. It is. And just one person, one kid in our community would be awful. And I just hope we can pull together to get some prevention in something like that for sure. But
Absolutely.
but we're going to change avenue a little bit. One of the things I've been promoting is 55 and over. You know, I think we brought Michael Paul. He won the election this year, and he's been assigned as senior citizens liaison. We hadn't had that before, so we're putting a lot of concentration on senior citizens and building up the senior citizen community. And one of the things I felt like we needed was another senior citizen um, opportunity. We do have one in town, but a lot of people that go to retirement facilities leave town. They live here all their life and leave town. And this what you will see. Jim presents is a very nice community, and we're pretty much I'm excited about having them for sure.
Shall we bring them up?
I think we should. I think we should bring them on up. And there he is. Hey, Jim.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing? Where are you at tonight?
I'm in Alexandria, Virginia.
Okay, you at home then. I think
Yeah.
you told me you live up there, but your communities are all over the South, just about. I think, and the ones that are not on the ground, you're hoping to put them on the ground, like the one in Rolesville here. So, if you would, for the people watching, kind of introduce yourself. Who are you? Who is Arden? And what kind of brought you to Rolesville?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for the warm welcome to Rolesville. We are what we like to think about as an innovative new form of senior living. We've owned senior living in the past, and it's more of the traditional senior living of where you need care and you need extra help with meals and really what's called assisted living, so assistance with daily needs. But folks came to us and they said, "Look, we want to be in the facility, we want to be around our friends, our peer group, but we don't need all the cooking. We're more independent than that. We just want to live around our friends and have fun activities." And so that's the idea basically came from that, from our residents that are more what's called a higher acuity living. And that's where Arden was born, and we started running with that idea back in 2020, and have been slowly putting the pieces in place. Our first buildings will open, or actually just opened, in Charlotte, and we have 3 buildings that are either the first one's about to open, and we have 2 more that are under construction in Charlotte, and we have another one under construction in Apex, North Carolina, over on the other side of Raleigh. And we're in the planning stages of bringing one to Rolesville, over by the Walbrook development.
And I think I got your brochure here. I looked it up, and you left this with me probably about 12 months ago. It's got a lot of information. I'm sure a lot of it has changed in 12 months, but your model is a little bit, your concept, the way you do in your community is a little different than the traditional, which you normally see in retirement communities. So what's the difference, Jim? What are you so proud of?
I think what we're most proud about is really expanding access to as many seniors as possible. And I think what the puzzle that we're trying to solve for is that you have really this unmet, what's called a missing middle in senior housing. And so on the really high end side of the equation, there's luxury, there's a kind of a luxury option. And that makes sense why that's easy to build. There's just more money available for the budget. And then on the other end of the spectrum is more of a government subsidized, affordable, and there's definitely a need for that. And there's probably not enough of that involved, but the government's involved with that, and they're doing their best to really deliver that type of housing. But in the middle, it's very, very difficult because you don't have the government assistance and you don't have the higher rents to help you, pay for the construction. So for us, we've really tried to really think super closely about how we deliver that product, and we're doing it by kind of standardizing a lot of things. We're only focused on it. A lot of developers they might do senior living, they might do multifamily. We're just focused on this particular, what we call active adult or 55 plus living. And the idea is to make it as efficient as possible. We open up a couple in the same city to operate them more efficiently. And the idea is to then try to pass on those costs or those savings to the resident and open up the access to what we think is really high quality senior living.
So it's sort of like you feel like it's a gap there between the lower communities and as you explained the expensive ones.
Yeah.
And you do that, I understand, by offering options and different things, different payment I guess strategies. Is that something I remember?
Yeah. So again, like the closest type of senior living that currently exists before, traditionally for years and years has been what's called independent living, but that requires you to sign up for the meal service. It requires you to buy into the fact that there's going to be a higher level of staffing. And for us, what we're trying to do is strip all of that down to then deliver more of an a la carte type experience. So we'll partner with meal, services and meal deliveries. We'll have events where you can, a lot of the events are part of the rent. Some of the extra ones will charge extra if we want to do something a little more over the top and maybe go off site, go do an excursion somewhere. Those might be an extra cost, but then that way the people that aren't going on that, they don't have to pay for it. With the traditional model is everything's bundled together. So you have to pay for everything. And if you don't use everything, or, you might be on the fence of whether you're going to use it, or you might just not want to eat as great as it is to have somebody cook for you all the time. A lot of folks just want to cook their own meals because, their preferences, they get exactly what their preferences are. It's what they're used to doing. And they're not really at that stage of their life where they need somebody to cook for them all the time.
Yeah, and also you get that age. It's not necessarily you don't want to go out and eat no more. Sometimes you want to go out. You want to go out to somewhere else to eat, someplace to eat. And I think being over near Walbrook is going to offer a lot of opportunities for people to get out because you're going to put it in a pretty good location, if I understand it correctly.
Yeah, I mean that was really what attracted us to this particular site. We're close to what's going on in Walbrook with the new grocery store is going to be absolutely fantastic. Everybody loves Publix. I don't really have to explain why Publix is so great. It's just always just a great experience. But the Walbrook, the rest of the retail offering that's right there, you will be able to walk, or it's a very short drive, depending on your preference. But it's going to be very accessible from our site to the new retail that's going on over there and around the downtown Rolesville area, the existing retail that's already in downtown Rolesville. And that's a big part of it is we want people to be in the community, going out, eating, and enjoying what the community has to offer. So this is, I guess, I'm looking at the screen. There's some pictures up right now. This is what our project, a typical project that and this will be very, very similar to what we have planned in Rolesville. This is right there. This is kind of an outdoor, seating area. A lot of the things we try to do with the buildings are we're trying to create little moments and little areas for people to gather and for people to create community, because a huge part of what we're trying to deliver is a community. We want people to make friends in the community. A lot of folks that move in to our communities, a lot of times they live alone. So and they've lived alone for a long time, and they want to have a little more socialization in their life. That's not always easy as you get older. I mean, I think even once you get past college, a lot of times it can be a little bit more difficult, but certainly as you get older, later stages of life. Our residents have told us that time and time again, that socialization is a huge part of what they are looking for. So that's what we're trying to do with all these little moments and spaces like this, like the seating area. We have a little pub room inside the building. There's some pickleball, the pool area. I think what you had up earlier, maybe if you go back to slide 1, I believe, you can see another. There we go. So this is a newer iteration of what we're trying to do. And Rolesville will have this kind of our 2.0, or kind of our next stage of development is going to have these cottages that surround the main building, and they'll be part of the community. You'll be able to go into the community, use the amenities, but if you don't want to necessarily downsize all the way to an apartment, there's an opportunity to kind of downsize a little bit, and then as maybe later on you would downsize to the apartment size of a building.
So Jim, do you recall the size and number of the units, how many apartments and how many cottages it will be?
Yes. So for Rolesville, it's 136 units in the main building, and then there's 24 units or 24 cottages that are surrounding them, kind of to the north and south of the site. The units in the main building are a mix of 1 bedroom and 2 bedrooms. The 2 bedrooms are, I think, smaller than a typical like apartment building you'd see like in other parts of the area. They're really meant for kind of one person, but we do have larger 2 bedrooms for couple. But the idea is to try to keep the size down, to also keep the rent payment as low as possible. So you're not just paying for a bunch of extra space. But they're really efficiently built. The 2 bedrooms, in most of them will still have a living room in the middle, and it's flanked by a bedroom on each side, and it allows you to use one as your bedroom, one as your study or den or extra space. And then most of the 2 bedrooms, almost all of them have 2 bathrooms as well. A few are one bathroom, but not many.
So Jim, where are you with the project? Are you getting ready to break ground? Are you ways from that, or when can people expect you to start seeing some work going on up there?
The work would start in 2025. So we're still a little ways away, like for this project. We're kind of in the earlier stages of it. The zoning what happened in last year, about the 4th quarter of last year, and then what happens next is there's a lot of coordination that happens at the administrative level, figuring out where all this, how we're going to tie into the sewer. There's a new road that's being built. I'm sure a lot of your viewers have seen that the new Burlington Mills Road over by the middle school that will then connect with Main Street. That's currently it's getting close to being finished, and they'll start striping that, I think, pretty soon here. But tying into that, there's a lot of coordination efforts on that part. So it's really, if you kind of think about it, it's through the end of 2024. We'll continue developing our plans and coordinating with all the different administrative jurisdictions, whether it's Wake County or Rolesville or Raleigh Water, and then get all that teed up and with the goal of breaking ground next year. And then I guess to finish, I think your next question would be like, when it would be done, and it takes about 18 months to build. So it'd be, if we started January of 2025, it'd be June of 2026 when it would deliver.
So June of 2026. So if someone is planning to move somewhere in 2026, mid 2026, when will you start taking applications or start talking to people about wanting to live there? Because I think when people see this coming, they're going to really migrate towards it pretty heavily.
Yeah, I think you can always go to our website at www.onearden, spelled out ONE, onearden.com. And that'll have all of our projects there, and you can go and I believe we have a landing page for this one. We usually set that up pretty quick, pretty early on. So it'd be Arden at Rolesville.com, And if it's not up already, then you can go to the onearden.com website. But what we do is we usually start a information list or a waiting list, and people can sign up on the website for that and get information. And then about 9 months before we open, we'll start accepting applications, and you can apply, and it's really what it is it allows you to we'll take a nominal fee to hold a unit. And then as we get closer to an actual delivery date, about a couple weeks before the delivery, then we'll start signing like actual leases. And we typically do a 12-month lease, just like a standard apartment building. But we're flexible. You can do 12, sometimes 15 months, 18 months, depending on what folks want. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. It's pretty easy. We try to make it as easy as possible. And then also what we'll do is, as we get closer, I would encourage people to just check in, because we throw events, and the idea is for people to get to know us, but we also want them to get to know their future neighbors. And so we'll do painting classes, pickleball classes. Sometimes we just do a speaker series where you get and have like some wine that we serve and listen to a speaker talk about an interesting topic. And we'll start doing that about, again, 9 months before we open. And people that are interested are welcome to come and learn about us, and also hopefully learn about the folks that they might be living with or living around.
Well, that sounds good. So when you open, what do you usually have, at occupancy when you open? Is it half full or something like that, or what do you anticipate?
It's anywhere from 1/3 to 40%. I mean, there's some, there's just the reality of like people, as you get sort of close, 9 months out, a lot of people haven't finished their existing, they need to sell their house, or they need to, or maybe move out of their current lease. So for us, it's around 30 to 40%. And then we'll spend, it takes about a year to finish, the 9 months to a year to finish leasing it up.
Okay, so you don't have to. A person shouldn't expect to have to get on a 2-year waiting list to get in there if they wait till it opens up or something like that.
Yeah, and we'll start doing, and we'll do also the other thing that I think is fun, can be fun, is we do hard hat tours as we get closer. So you can come and check it out and see what it's as it's going, as construction progresses. And some people don't like that, they want to be on a construction site, but some people really like that. So or you just wait till it's open. That's also a lot easier because you don't need a hard hat.
Yeah. I noticed in one of the slides you put up there, you had these cottages. It's not very many. It's like, I think you said 24.
Yeah,
something like that. Are those popular? Are those going to be the first ones to go? You think people really migrate towards the cottage type units rather than the apartment types unit? Because I don't think we've had those in town before, and that's something extremely new.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know yet because we haven't opened it, but from what we've seen from other projects that have done similar type of things in other areas of the country, you see actually a lot of these things in Charleston more, and so and they're really popular, and for good reason. I mean, it's single story living, and it's just a very easy sort of transition from if you're coming from a home.
Well, great. What is some final thoughts you want to leave with the community of what you got coming? And sounds like you got a good timeline on that. And I guess there's always things could cause it to slip, but I know the road is moving pretty well, and some of these other things are moving pretty well. So I don't think you don't anticipate any delays, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, development always is, you can never really try to predict development, but yeah, no, I think that things are, in terms of the road, in terms of the approval process, it seems to be moving pretty smoothly. So final thoughts, I would say the number one thing that I think that we are most focused on is community, and building a community within the greater community. And so I would just say that as we get closer to opening, absolutely, people should come and check us out and come to one of our events, get to know us, and hopefully be inspired to sort of join join our little community and make friends and stay a while. So that's what I think it's my final thoughts for the show.
Good. Well, I see Philip is back, so I know.
Unmuted.
Yeah. Philip, it looks like it's a pretty nice place to live on it.
Yeah, and now being 55 plus, I remember when I looked at these for my mom when she was in her mid 80s. I was like, "Where's the one for the 50-year-old?" Now I qualify. So yeah.
And you don't have to cut grass, right, Jim? Do you have to cut grass in your bushes and all that kind of stuff?
No, we won't. No one's gonna be put to work. You can. No one's have to wash dishes or cut grass. Just
no
enjoy
washing the dishes in the cottages.
No, in the cottages, no, no cutting grass over there either. It's just easy living. And I think typically our average age is it's called 55 plus. That's kind of the term that gets that's like the legal term in like the HUD language. But really, our renters is typically going to be more like in like late 60s, early 70s. Probably 70, 71 is kind of a sweet spot. It's a time for of course, anybody's welcome that qualifies. So we're not excluding anybody, but that just happens to be sort of who gravitates to us the most.
Well, yeah,
Gotcha.
I really think I guess Philip, when before recently, you didn't have these options. It was just a standard rest home kind of you go into, and it's really some nice facilities. And I think what this Arden project is doing is it's making it where a lot of people can afford it. Probably couldn't afford something like that in the past. Some of the models they're using. So if you, I would recommend you at least check it out and see if it's something that you could make work for sure. Because
Well, I guarantee you, we're going to be bringing a members after hours, business after hours to your social area once it opens up.
Because to me, it almost looked like a little vacation place, Phil. I mean, you see the pool and all that stuff, they got going on. So
that's going to be a hard sell for Paula. Hey, Paula, we're going to take a vacation down the block, but no, we'll move over there.
There you go. Well, thank you for coming on, Jim. If you want to hang on, we're going to close the show out in about 5 minutes. And Alicia, if she's still around, bring her back. There she is. Alicia, thanks for holding on. Good having you back. Phil, it's been a good show. Any thoughts you want to talk about? I know the Chamber's got some new events coming up in the next month or two.
That we do. This month, actually, on March 21st, our own Yolanda Taylor with the Center of Community Law and Equity is going to be presenting a lunch and learn talking about wills, estates, and trusts. And then a little bit later in the month, the fourth Thursday of the month, is our monthly business after hours. We're going to get social. We'll be at the Main Street Tavern, downtown Rolesville. Please come out and join us. We love guests. It's really about connections. The greatest value we can provide our members is to provide opportunities where they can make greater connections, get exposure for their businesses, make new connections, meet not just potential customers, but potential partners that they can synergize with. There is no competition. We might have multiple realtors. We might have multiple mortgage bankers. We might have multiple carpenters and plumbers. There's no competition. It's co-opetition. So I really enjoy these get-togethers because you really see people building connections in the community. And by the way, in the fall, we're still putting together, we're hoping to bring back barbecuing bands in October. And we're also going to have our chamber golf tournament in September. So look for dates to be announced on that very soon.
Well, good. I know with the weather changing, I mean, today was a perfect day to show the weather's changing. We have a lot of outside activities that now the town is starting to kick up here in the next few weeks. I know with Easter around the corner, I believe it's, when is it? Is it next weekend? I think it's, let's see what date it is. the 23rd, so weekend after next.
Okay.
We have our annual Easter roll. We call it Easter Rush. That's going to be at the middle school. Bring your kids out for that. That's usually a pretty good event. And Philip, I don't know if you've been to any of our music events when we have bands, but first one coming up on that is April the 6th. We're going to, and I don't know if the band has been announced yet who the band is going to be, but we have music at the middle school. I think out on the field at the middle school starting in April. Weather should be good in April, so come on out to those type events and meet your other people in the community. It'd be a good time to do that. Very excited about the summer that's coming on, the spring and the summer. So
I think the police department's having a night out event coming up. I remember Chief talking about that. Do you know when that's going to be coming up, Ronnie? By chance? Sorry to throw that at you offhand, but I just remembered that.
Yeah, they do. It's going to be. Well, I think they're going to have another picnic event before that.
Okay.
That turned out pretty good. And the police night out, I think, is towards the fall. I think it's towards the end of the summer, if I recall. Usually it's in the fall. Probably the biggest outdoor event coming up 1st of May would be at Optimus Club does that car show. If you have never been to a car show,
That car show, yes.
That's pretty exciting. So kind of recommend that too. That's a fun thing to go to.
I'll be bringing my father-in-law in his 49 Ford. I think it's called a box car. Looks like the same coming as going. So I'll be riding out there with one Jack Johnson.
Is that like the gangster car kind of?
Not so much. It's a 49, and it's just this. It's got curves that are the same on both ends, coming and going.
Right. You see one every once in a while like they got bullet holes in them, and so it's from that gangster thing. But Alicia, thank you for coming on the show. Great job. We'll be talking to you. I hope you can get your message out in the communities because it's so good. And stay in touch with me, and we'll kind of work to that. And Jim, see if we can't get that project here because I think it's going to be a nice amenity for that age group. That's something that we really need. And appreciate both of you guys coming on the show, sharing the information with the public here, and really appreciate that. Any closing thoughts, Alicia?
Just thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be a part of this community and really excited to bring my work here.
Yeah, I think you're the only person I know that's actually been on Oprah and Dr. Phil and all those shows. So it's kind of an honor to know somebody that been there. How about you, Philip? Do you know anybody?
I do not, and I'm going to bring back.
You do now.
I know. It's funny. I just ran into her at a networking event, and I figured I'm going to get another business card, and suddenly there was a whole different story than any other networking contact I'd ever met.
Yeah, she got a unique story for sure. And
whatever we can do to help you get the word out.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Hope it helps tonight because this show sees a lot of eyes. It's rerun a lot, so
fantastic. And I hope to connect with people who watch it. Please feel free to reach out. Anybody who's watching, love to hear from you.
Jim, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Excited about having your community, Arden community coming in. It's going to be exciting having you guys part of our neighborhood. So looking forward to that. And Philip, thank you for hosting this show again. Behind the scenes, making it work. Thank you very much.
My honor.
Appreciate all you do, and thanks, everybody. We're going to end here. So thanks, and appreciate everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
See you soon.
Bye-bye, everybody.